Sox fans, welcome back to Good Guys Talk Back. Hey, it's episode 250. I am Nick Murawski. This is a fan-centric Chicago White Sox podcast. We do this live every Sunday night on our Good Guys Talk Back YouTube channel. Join us, jump in the comments. Audio available absolutely everywhere. Got a lot to get to here. Some silent nights during the winter meetings. Ohtani signed. Jerry's taking meetings. And I received a postcard, as I'm sure so many others did. Chopping all that up with me, my very dear friend, diehard Sox fan, Pat Hester. Hello, sir.
I love your creativity, the silent nights thing. Way to go. Bringing us into the holiday season. How are you, buddy? It's good to see you.
It is great to see you. You are very festive.
Are you with the flannel? Are those pajamas? Are those like button-up old-timey pajamas? Or
do you do that? Is that a thing in your home where everyone?
Oh, it is this year. It is this year.
The pajama sets, and everybody's got to get in the pajama sets. Not together, of course. Everyone has their individual pair, but
no, it's like a big sack race. We're all getting into one giant pajama.
You know, it's just we haven't started that tradition. I can't remember the last time I had matching pajamas. It's been a long time. So this is just a regular shirt.
There's no time like the present, Nick. It's time to get yourself some flannel pajamas. Everybody's doing it. It's all the craze. Yep. I've got my matching pajama. I tried them on today.
Oh, good.
I ripped myself away from the Bears game to make sure they fit. And lo and behold, the 2XL tall fit.
Oh boy, that is great. Who makes the decision on the design? Is that
Anyway, Nick, let's get down to the brass tacks. And
hey, Pat, congratulations on 250, man. We kicked off season 6 last week, and here we are at episode number 250. And I'm sorry, but that is a nice number. That is a solid number, and credit to you. And thank you so much to all the folks that, with the continued support over and over, especially when this team has not given us much to root for or to celebrate. Here we are at 250.
It's amazing. It's amazing. We've had 250 episodes of things to talk about, yet here we are. It never ceases. It never ends. It really never ends. This week is chock full of new news, right? Even regardless of maybe a little bit of not as loud as we thought it would be maybe during the winter meetings as I thought it might be. But I think now that some moves, the big domino has fallen.
Sure.
I think other things are start to happen here as the hot stove continues to get hotter. So it's a great time. I appreciate being here. It's a fun outlet for me, and I know it's therapeutic for you. And I hope our fans enjoy it. That's the main thing is you and I get a chance to talk White Sox, and people, I don't know why, but somehow they enjoy what we do on a week in and week out basis.
There's others like us, Pat. That's what I realized a long time ago. There are others that need
out there
this.
Like us.
They need the outlet. They want to talk Sox. They want to hear about White Sox baseball, even though it is tough and it's not easy. This is their life, just like it is for you and I. Hey, let's talk about that big domino, and then I'll get into the postcard. Shohei Ohtani signs and a lot of crazy stuff of, tracking flights to Toronto, which good on Toronto for like being in it for that long. I'm shocked about that. I kind of had a feeling, West Coast, LA, it seemed like it. And here he is. And now guys like, of course, Mike Clevenger can find their team because that big domino has fallen.
That's what the whole league was waiting for.
Clevenger is just like, you know what? I'm not taking any phone calls. I will not sign. I got to wait for Ohtani before my market can be realized. There's others like Giolito and others out there, but 700 million. I mean, I can't even, wrap my brain around it. The Sox have yet, under Jerry's rule, of course, offered and signed, I should say offered, but signed somebody to a $100 million contract. And here you got Ohtani at 700 million. Yeah, I wanted to talk about the Ohtani effect because I don't know all the, econ stuff that go in it, all the crunching of the numbers. I think you could probably get some of that from the Angels, but to me, it's more than just the ridiculously large contract. It's everything else around it. It's the merchandise sale. It's the advertisers. It's, of course, the tickets. It's growing a fan base for a long, long time. It's all of that the Dodgers, who are not hurting for fans, but they are going to reap that, does it, add up, so to speak? Is it worth it? Is the juice worth the squeeze? All that stuff. I don't know all of the numbers, and time will tell. I'm sure we can get some, again, like I had mentioned from the Angels situation, but that's what I've been wanting, Pat, Jerry to do. And I don't think he ever will, is realize, and I'm sure he gets it, he just never wants to go through with it. You will get out what you put in,
Yeah.
So that was my little, just, wow, just trying to process all of the trickle effect, the domino effect of Ohtani.
Yeah, it's first of all, I was kind of blown away because I think 700 was not a number that we had heard a lot. It was more of the 500 to 600 after he had gotten injured last year. There was a lot of talks of would he even get to the 500. That was kind of set as a mark, if you will, as he was going into the second half of the year. And then as he was getting closer and closer to the end of the season with free agency, the injury to the pitching, would you pay that much for a guy now that's not going to pitch this year, Nick? He's not going to pitch at all this year. So,
but how much longer will he pitch? Is he really going to be a pitcher, a hitter for the rest of his career?
That's a good question. I mean, the $700 million that he got, I from what I understand, some of it's going to be diverted. So it could be like a Bobby Bonilla type thing where he's getting paid. Bobby Bonilla was paid by the Mets for, I think, up until the last couple of years, or maybe still being paid by the Mets $1 million or something every year. So he's going to be being paid by the Dodgers for a long, long time.
Pat, would you say he's getting paid, not necessarily then hitter, pitcher, how long is he going to be doing those, but all of the other stuff? Like, we're paying for what we're going to get in return, with advertising, with merchandise, with all this stuff. Can you do something like that? I mean, is that something that is smart to do?
I think time will tell, Nick, because look at his time with the Angels and playing alongside one of the best players, if not the best player in baseball, Mike Trout. It yielded, I think, 0 playoff wins. I think even was there even a playoff appearance? I don't know. Mm-hmm. So it depends on what your level of success is. Yeah, and the Dodgers have a different level of what they deem as successful. I was listening to the radio yesterday driving around, and just the national, whatever ESPN national broadcast was on at the moment. And, they were talking about that ownership group. Their success level is competing every year for a World Series. Period. End of story. So if they don't get the return on investment in terms of getting to and winning multiple World Series during this time period, then I would deem it as a failure. At least I would think they would look at it that way. Now you're looking at it from an Angels perspective. I think they look at things a little bit differently. I think they would look at it like, well, we've got these great players and it's a great draw and it would be a great ticket. And nationally and internationally, we're well known as the team that has Shohei Ohtani. But I think the Dodgers will look at it differently. And it's going to be interesting to see how it happens now being in LA, LA's number one team in terms of baseball. And part of the fervor or the big fandom that is LA sports. You look at the people in LA, what they care about. They care about the Dodgers, the Lakers, and is it UCLA basketball, I think, in terms of where their allegiance lies, and maybe USC football. So now you're part of something that's bigger than he's probably been a part of, at least in the United States before. And he's a very secluded individual. He's not a guy that wants to talk to the press. He won't talk to the press unless it's Daisy pitches. So he's not playing. As far as I know, he's not going to be talking to the media this year. He blew off his MVP conference call this past year, Nick. He wouldn't even take that call. He wouldn't tell people what his dog's name was. He doesn't want to do anything seriously, he doesn't want to do anything other than sleep the 14 hours a day, take the limo to the ballpark, play the game, go home, and not be bothered. You're in LA now. And I know LA is not like Chicago or New York in terms of that's all we have is sports, right? And that's all we care about. Maybe New York is not a good example, but they're still sports crazed, or Philly. But you're talking about the Dodgers in LA. People are going to care and want to, have a piece of your time. And it's going to be a different way different way a superstar is treated in that town. So I don't know if it's going to be worth it or not for the Dodgers in 4, 5, 6 years. It'll be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, all well said, and yeah, I have heard that about Ohtani. I don't know if you've caught the Barry Sanders documentary that's out, Bye Bye Barry. It could be on Prime or I don't know, but interesting stuff. If that's the demeanor of Barry Sanders, of I just I want to play the game, and I don't want to deal with anything else that has to do with this. I have no interest, no time. I think when he was drafted, he blew off that meetup. Maybe it was with like Dan Patrick or something. I don't know. I just saw the documentary. I'm butchering it horribly, but the point is very, very private guy. Some would say maybe easy to do in Detroit, possibly much more difficult to do in a town like LA, and time will tell with the Ohtani situation. But it's the effect, man. It's the ripple effect. It's everything else that comes with it, that you as an ownership group, as a franchise, as a city, you will reap from having that magnitude. And that's, of course, what we discussed. And so many other Sox fans have talked about it, but it's it's of course the off season, and we lament about, the failures of this Sox organization and what you would have been getting in return from Bryce Harper, not just the on play, the results, whatever, but everything else. You would have really drummed up a fan base. And at the young side, you would have been growing that fan base because of, the type of player that Harper was.
Well, do you think, here's my question to you, Nick, as just a baseball fan, as you and I are, do you think this whole, this circus, or the circus that has become free agency in the off season, is good for baseball? I quite honestly enjoy it. And I don't know why people get so upset about, well, how come he hasn't signed? Why are people caring about where he's going on a plane and all the drama that goes into it? I somewhat enjoy it. And I don't understand why people are so anti the story.
I don't like when, there's one player that we're waiting to make a decision on, and then everyone else is going to make their decisions. I kind of like the fury that is NFL kind of has it, right? And maybe NBA, where just it's insane. Free agency is crazy, like the first 48 hours. And baseball has gotten to a point where it's this game of chicken, this game of waiting, where like conversations are had, and then we wait for these big pieces to make their decision. And then I thought this might have been dragged out a little bit longer. I thought maybe it could have happened into the new year. And so now maybe we'll see a little bit of action. I like the action. I don't want to just wait for one big move. And so, but that's how it's been, and definitely this year. Sox were quiet, made a couple signings, which we'll get to later in this episode. Hey, you're going to have some people to eat innings. You're going to have some arms, and the Sox got that, and you absolutely are going to have a backstop. Sox have a lot of problems in that department, and we got an arm, we got a backstop. We'll talk about that. It was quiet. A lot of just lip service. I got some interesting Grifol and Getz quotes. So obviously, the ticket agency, the ticket folks with the Chicago White Sox, they had this all planned out. Hey, after winter meetings, we're going to make sure this big mailer goes out to all the fans, all the season ticket holders that decided not to renew. It's a time thing, and they're just maybe hedging their bets. I don't know, that something happens during the winter meetings. We'll make sure this postcard is in these people's hands a day or two after the winter meetings, and then they're going to absolutely want to come back because, there's going to be movement, or they're going to feel excited or something. Absolutely nothing happens during the winter meetings. They're sending out these high gloss, thick postcards. These things are strong postcards with we want you back. And they put your last name on a jersey, and they give you these selling points, best prices. I got it right here in front of me.
Did they spell your last name correctly, first of all?
They did.
You're a tough last name, by the way.
I am. I'm tough to pronounce, maybe easier to spell. Hey, how about this one, Pat? Guaranteed postseason opportunities. So if you're
great.
What? Nothing happened during the winter meetings. I know the off season is not over, but hey, I better think about moving some money around here because we got guaranteed postseason opportunities. Flexible ticket exchange program. That's always fun. Flexible. That is great. And invitations to exclusive events such as season ticket holder appreciation week, dollars to donuts. Those special events include Ron Kittle, Jim Thome, and/or Harold Baines. Guaranteed.
Why not all? Why not all?
Or all three. Those are that is that's what you're getting for those events. So anyway,
something tells me they're available.
They're on retainer. They're on retainer for all these events. So you want to go golfing with these guys? Great. You want to go Sox on the beach? These are your guys, man. These are the three guys we're sending.
On the beach. Oh my, you're going with the Wayback Machine. I forgot about
Wayback Machine. Yeah, Sox on the beach. So okay, we get these postcards, and I know I'm not the only one. A lot of folks got these, displayed them on social media. I am sorry, but when you do absolutely nothing this offseason, and you've had the season that you had, and you retain Pedro Grifol, you decided to move up Getz without even having a real search. You got the owner, trying to leverage to Nashville or other places. What's the enticement? The needle hasn't moved at all. You want me back? Do something. Do something to create a stir. I found it absolutely not insulting. It's like, and these ticket reps, I mean, that is a mission. That's a dead end mission. I mean, they're trying to sell almost something there's no real way to sell this. So obviously it's ownership and everybody in that world, but I found it absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. Have you ever had a woman try so hard to get you back, Nick? Sent you that nice cards. And
never this high gloss. This is high gloss. This is a sturdy postcard.
Yeah. Maybe like a letter or an email you may have gotten.
Sure.
Nick, I want you back with a T-shirt with your name on the back of it.
Do you remember the Office episode where Michael's flame, Jan, begs him to come back, and she had some work done, some enhancements.
Oh yes.
Done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She changed. There was some change there. She did change. It wasn't the same situation. There's been no change with the White Sox. There's no change here. You haven't even announced any promos. Here, hey, look, I maybe took a couple marketing classes in undergrad just because it went along with the mass communication. Yeah. Put out your promos, make sure they're good, and then put this postcard out and say, we want you back. Yeah. Like, oh, I've seen the promos. Those are really good. Mm-hmm. I like that. Yeah. You've done nothing. You've done nothing new.
Yeah. Well, okay.
I'm not trying to sell you on this. I just had to vent a little bit.
I thought maybe you were going to try and ask me if I wanted to go halves on it. Go halves on a pie here. Maybe you and I go halves.
You know what? Here's the unveil. I'm now a ticket rep. So
are you really? Yeah, isn't that fantastic? Congratulations, Nick. I hope you're not working on commission. You're getting a salary.
They've got 400 of them. They needed a couple more for the holidays, the holiday rush.
The holiday rush.
The holiday rush.
Oh my. Yeah, it's like going back and working at Old Navy. It's the holiday rush time. We need you, Nick.
Man. Yeah.
Calling in, putting up the bats.
If you're working retail right now, God bless you, man. T's and P's. If you're on the denim wall in a place like Old Navy right now, hopefully your loved ones and your friends understand.
Or the pajama wall, or the matching pajama wall. If you got that going on, you're restocking that, refolding that every 10 minutes. What was the worst job, Nick? Working at Old Navy during the holidays or Santa Claus? What was harder? Did you wear Santa for?
Yes, I was a mall Santa. Mall Santa was more rewarding, shorter hours. It was a communal suit. Mm-hmm. So that's
that's got its drawbacks.
When you're in your 20s, because I was in college at the time, when you're in your 20s, you really don't care. You're like, okay, money's money, great. I don't know. Old Navy had maybe better benefits, a discount on the fleeces, those power fleeces, whatever they were called, performance fleece. I'm sorry, not power
fleeces.
So, yeah, I've had some odd jobs, but
do you ever find like a sandwich in the Santa Claus suit?
No,
like or old food, discarded flask of any kind.
No. But it was definitely a communal suit, communal beard. That thing was just passed around to all the other Santas that were working that mall. Yep.
How you survived?
I don't know. Stories to tell, my friend. Stories. It could be a whole nother podcast, to be honest.
We should do a whole nother podcast right after this one. Nick's Jobs. Remember the show Dirty Jobs? It might still be on, but that we could do a whole show on Nick's Jobs.
You know it, man. So I'm not going to be jumping back in as a season ticket holder at this point.
Didn't get you, huh?
No, they didn't get me. I thought
if it was like a pop-up card, would that have worked? Like, you get those cards and there's like or a pop-up book or like
what? Hey, they send me a pop-up card and it starts playing Thunderstruck and okay, you're putting the work in, but still, what have you done to the product on the field?
Maybe a bat like pops up with a ball. Phew. Thunderstruck.
It's like the effort, Pat, the amount of money and effort, the concentrated effort. If they just put that in other things, in other departments, in other ways, we might have a different ball club. If you just took
that money on the card,
took that energy, took that and applied it to something else within the organization, you might have something here.
Well, they're busy meeting with mayors, so.
Oh yes, let's talk about that. So look, if you want to meet with a mayor and you're Jerry Reinsdorf, you can make that happen without people knowing about it. There's ways, believe it or not, Pat, for you to meet with somebody discreetly, and for that to be done without it going public. It obviously leaks. It goes public that Reinsdorf meets with the Nashville mayor. He happens to be in Nashville, of course, because it's the winter meetings. Talking about Jim Leland and waxing on about God knows what, and he meets with the mayor of Nashville. We've covered some of this already when initially leaked. I don't think much of it because you and I lived during the late 80s when this happened the first time with the whole push to Florida. I've read the articles. They're out there for free consumption on how Jerry played that and how he left Florida and the leverage and the dirty tricks and all of that. It was gross. So if you're telling me that Reinsdorf cares about fans more than anything and this, that, and the other, read the articles that are out there on what he wanted to do and how he's trying to run it back. At least get some new material. No. At least do it at least do it.
Why would he?
Why
would he, Nick? He's operated the same way for 40 years. Why would he do something different?
You're right. You're 100% right. Yep.
He believes it worked the last time.
Yep.
He was able to manipulate the city of Chicago, the Illinois government. He was able to manipulate the mayor in St. Pete, right? That's where they were planning on going, and the state of Florida. And he got everything he wanted by waiting to the 13th hour until his buddy, who was it? Jim, I was going to say Jim Gordon, not Commissioner Gordon from Batman. What was the name of the guy?
You got Jim Gordon in your pocket. You're asking for something more.
Then you're dealing with something.
Yeah.
Whoever the
you know what? It's crazy that name escapes me because they've got a whole bust of that politician right by the entrance by the champion.
Jim Thompson, Governor
Thompson.
Thompson.
Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Thompson.
Hello, Mr. Thompson. I think he's talking to you.
When I step on your foot and say that, for those that you don't know, Google that Simpsons episode.
It's just absolutely, it's insulting to the fan base to do what you've been doing. This disconnect, no Sox Fest, just, what happened with the gun situation. If they put on this thick, glossy postcard, we know what happened with the gun, and then you flip on the other side.
That got you back? But you have to buy tickets to find out. We know what happened, but if you want to know more, you must.
It's the way they're playing it. It's absolutely insane. Fully well what happened with the gun. Who fired the gun. All of that. And I haven't heard any clear answer. There's just a real disconnect. And now you've got this situation where you're going to try to run back something from the late 80s and how you got your other stadium. Buy your own stadium. Build your own stadium. That to me, when you're worth billions of dollars, the state shouldn't be on the hook for this. Build your own stadium.
And I don't understand why it doesn't necessarily have to. I mean, there's real no need to have to build a new stadium other than the lease is up.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they could work out a deal to stay there. But again, I'm fine if they decided they wanted to move somewhere within Chicago or the nearby suburbs or whatever. But don't think you're going to pull the wool over everybody's eyes. And I would wager to say that, well, maybe I could be wrong. Maybe I'm talking out my rear end here. Are all his old buddies still in Springfield? All his friends? Is he still close enough with everybody?
I wouldn't think
the mayor's
so.
office, the state of Illinois, and can you pull the wool over a different mayor's eyes in Nashville, knowing what his ultimate goal is to get a fully financed stadium back in Chicago? That's what he wants. He doesn't want to operate that way. I think he's too much of a baseball traditionalist, Nick, to say he's going to take out one of the charter franchises of the American League out of the city of Chicago. I don't think that's what he'd want his legacy to be. But then again, I could be wrong. He is Jerry Reinsdorf after all, and I haven't been able to predict him correctly over the last several years. So who knows? But it's really sad that he's got to put our fan base through the dog and pony show. Maybe some very eager baseball fans in Nashville in the hopeful situation that they'd get a team. And really, I would tell somebody if they were, I'd say, why don't you wait for somebody better? Just hold off here. Wait for a better team to come along, or wait for baseball to expand. Just you don't need to rush into this relationship with the Chicago White Sox.
Yeah. Again, going back to the postcard, you want me back. Is there going to be a team if I come back? What is seriously going on with this ownership? And I know better not to read too much into it, but the optics of it are just really gross and absolutely pathetic. If you are trying to retain and grow a fan base, I mean, again, Sox, I think their PR, their marketing is gone down the toilet over the last couple years. It's been going downhill. This is not the way to play it. But we talk about the same things, Pat, as Sox fans, because the same things keep happening. The Sox do the same things over and over. So we have to continue to talk about the same things. No big moves by the White Sox. A lot of, maybe Cease. We're going to wait for that deal, which they should. Getz should wait for the absolute package that he wants, of course. Rumors of Eloy but there was a pitcher and a catcher, right-hander Eric Fetty, and the Chicago White Sox have come to an agreement. 2 years, $15 million. And Fetty, 30 years old, he was out of MLB last year, but 20-6 with a 2-sharp ERA with the KBO, where he was named MVP. So wasn't going well for him with the Nationals, I believe. Scuffled and figure out something different, got a sweeper, maybe perfected some of his mechanics, and he was very effective with KBO last year. And look, I don't have a major problem with this move at all. I don't expect much from the Sox in 2024. You're going to need pitching. You're absolutely going to need pitching. It just comes down to, did they overpay? I don't think so. When you're trying to cobble together how the Sox do this type of roster and where are we going to allocate our little millions here and there, and you're not going to make any big splashes, like those fringe type deals matter, which is why we were so enraged by the Lurie Garcia extension and how they spent on the bullpen. So I'm fine with this Fetty deal. You got to have pitching, and hey, good on him for learning some things and how he was effective in KBO. And hey, we got nothing to lose with this Sox team, really.
No, you couldn't have said it better there, Nick. And when you say, did we overpay? I mean, exactly. If this contract would have held them back from signing the last piece to, the last big piece of maybe a free agent that was out there available, and you say, oh, we could have given that 15 million or part of that 15 million to somebody else, and maybe we would have contended for the division this year. It is what it is. You've got to pay somebody something, right? You've got to field a team. So
it's true. Yeah.
If they want people back, they actually have to put a product out on the field. So again, I'm fine with it, and I've actually been pleased to this point with the way Getz has gone about his business. I like his firm stance right now and not taking a deal just to take a deal. I think he's done the right thing by letting other pieces in the market kind of fall, and that will only increase, I think, the value of his best piece, and that's Chris Getz. Whoever we're trying to trade. Who are we trying to trade, Nick?
That's
the guy. That's the one I was thinking about.
You might want to loosen up that Santa's cap.
It's getting quite warm. I'm counting down the minutes until we're done, because I feel like a wrestler trying to make weight at the moment. I'm just like almost in a garbage bag is on my head. Anyway,
I found my skull to be rather large during the holidays, so trying to get as much weight out of that as possible. And I'm just on a strict. I wear the tightest hats around the home as often as possible.
This is made for a child. I think this was a Christmas in July Sox giveaway. This is a child's hat. This is not made for my bulbous head.
I'm pretty sure you're correct on that. Okay. But good on you, man. It's episode 250, and you're wearing a child Santa hat. I love it.
Thank you. You know what? You bring a lot to the table every episode. You pretty much put the run of show together every week. You do all the research. You read every single godforsaken article there ever could be written, and I just show up with a Santa hat.
It's true, and that's, you know what I mean. And showing up is really a majority of it. And now that every podcast has got to have a TV component, you're the eye candy here with this hat.
And honestly, your son is a long ways away from replacing me, so I've got to be here for at least a little while.
Yeah, you're doing just fine, sir. I wouldn't be worried about it. Yeah, I mean, some of the moves maybe that Getz is doing, you can't really get too up in arms. At least I'm not. Again, I have always a problem of how he was ushered in and how he's put in without a real search. But some of the things he says, I put under a microscope just because you have to. And I'll read you something that Daryl Van Scoven of the Sun-Times put out there this past week. This is Getz. From the winter meetings. To find the appropriate word at this point is premature, Getz said at the winter meetings. I will say, based on the upper level talent we have on this ball club, I don't think it's going to be a dramatic lift to get us where we need to be. Van Scoven wrote, but is the goal to compete in 2024 after going 61 and 101 in 2023? We expect to be better than last year, Getz said. I've said it before. We're fortunate to be in the AL Central. Everybody has their challenges with their club, but they're looking to upgrade their team, and we're doing the same thing. It's important for our players, everyone part of the organization, to find ways to improve. Start with game one, try to win that one, and just add to the win column. So truly baby steps, brick by brick. I am so sick over this constant narrative of, thank goodness we're in the AL Central. Oh, but has that saved us over the years? What have you done with it? In the past 20 years, what have you done in this weak AL Central, this division that nobody wants to absolutely take, and just, I mean, some teams have gone, 3, maybe 4 in a row, rattled off. Sox have yet ever in the history to win back-to-back division titles. So you tell me, Grifol, Jerry, Getz again and again, why should we be so fortunate to be in the AL Central? We haven't done anything with those fortunes.
Yeah, that's a comment that should be for people like you and I, and people on talk shows and beat reporters and those types of people, because we should be the ones pointing out, going, yeah, it's a really good thing they're in this division, because maybe they could have this miraculous year and come out of nowhere and fight for this division, but they shouldn't. And quite frankly, if I was another executive with somebody else, I'd want to go over and punch somebody in the face in the White Sox organization. Are you kidding me? Well, we're the weak sisters of the poor here in the division. You guys can't get out of your own way. You guys should be running away and hiding with this division every year, given the market that you're in.
Should have a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that is, again, disturbing. And I'd like to ask, what do you actually mean by that? What do you mean by you're fortunate to be in this division? Because, there could be a day, maybe someday soon, Nick, where there's realignment in baseball, and you're not going to be in this weak AL Central anymore, where they look at it a little bit differently. They've talked about it. Howard mentioned it in the chat about maybe Jerry's meeting with the expansion committee.
Mm-hmm.
Things could change, and you may not always find yourself in a weak, easy division. You may find yourself in a much tougher division at some point. You might be in a division someday with the St. Louis Cardinals of the world, or you might find yourself in the division with your inner city rival in the Cubs that continue to improve themselves and don't seem to want to go in the doldrums for too long before they reinvest in their team and want to be competitive again. So, don't be so relaxed and happy and just okay with the fact that you're in this division, because that could very well change over the next several years.
Yeah, it's a good point. There's a thing that folks might do on Twitter X or social media. They perhaps are at an airport or something or whatever. I've never done this. I feel like I just I don't have the patience or energy. Ask me anything. Right. You ever see this AMA? I'm making a pot of coffee. AMA. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do. Hey, everybody. Hey, Sox fans, making a drip pot this morning. I got a couple minutes to kill. AMA. If Chris Getz played this game, ask me anything. That's what I would ask him. Honestly, I'd ask, what do you mean by that? Can you elaborate a little bit more? Is it you're going to just play down to the lowest common denominator? Are you thankful that you don't have to spend money? Are you thankful that there aren't any real powerhouses in the AL Central that you have to compete with and try to spend a ton of money like in the AL East? I mean, is that it? Because it really comes off as, playing to just, not lose instead of playing to win. Going out there and absolutely stomping on throats, proving it. And nothing's a guarantee. But if you go out and do as much as possible to remove as much doubt in your weak division, in your AL Central, well, you should be made in the shade.
Well, and it would put people like you that are talking about thinking about ever wanting to come back and be a season ticket holder again. You should be like, of course I will be, because this team, though maybe they may not be the best team in baseball, they've been good enough over the years to continue to be competing in this division. And we've seen several playoff berths in the last 20 years. So it's quite frustrating. I wonder what I would ask him if I could ask him. I don't even know.
You deserve to be the general manager?
That's a great question.
Would he even have answered that fairly? Because if someone offers you that type of gig with that salary, well, you don't question it because of how rare that is.
Mm-hmm.
What is he going to say? I don't think I've earned it. I don't think I've earned my stripes yet. But deep down in the places that he doesn't talk about at parties,
oh boy,
he hasn't.
You went a few good men on me.
I did. There. I just did that. I absolutely did that. He knows that he doesn't deserve to have that job right now. And he might be respected because he was a former player. I get that. And he's got potential, but not right now, man. I need someone that's proven, that's done it before.
The only thing wrong with that, Nick, is you and I, if we were at a party, we would be talking about that deep down at parties. So, yeah.
And would we be at a party with Chris Getz? Maybe
that's what the exclusive season ticket holder
event is. Man. Poor Jim Thome, Ron Kittle, and Harold Baines.
Yes, you could rub elbows.
Yeah,
with Chris Getz. What would you do? Yeah, I don't. Obviously, getting back to that, he hasn't done anything to deserve the role he has, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be a failure. I wonder, just hypothetically, when will you put a judgment out on Chris Getz and whether he is been successful or not? At what point is, because I kind of look at this year as a nothing year. It's really going to be hard to judge him on anything, maybe until year 2 or year 3 of his reign.
Well, can you judge him on a potential return for Cease and how he plays that? Can you judge him on, if were there other trades?
Yeah.
Where's my second baseman? Where's my right fielder? How are you going to solve that riddle that we've been trying to figure out for, a dozen years? Is it fair to, trial by fire? Hey, by the way, Getsy, the thing that nobody's been able to figure out, you now have to do along with all these other things in your first year ever,
I think you're going to have to look at some of those individually, because whatever you get back in Cease is probably going to be mostly prospects, and you're not going to be able to judge that trade for a while.
We know how that goes with prospects, right?
Yeah, and we've seen it before where we get excited after the Chris Sale trade, and then here we are, right? We're right back where we started from. So you can't really, I don't think you could judge it. Now, you could probably judge what he does in those positions, as you mentioned, in right field and second base, because those are a little bit more, going to happen. You would think whoever you get, you can look at and judge that position right away and go, okay, he's solved that.
Look,
and
Pat, if he's telling me that this is a weak division and there's not going to take much to get right back in there, well, then I got to judge you on filling these roster spots out.
Yeah.
Right.
And if it doesn't take that much to get back in it, just go ahead and do it now. Why do we have to do this long, drawn out, possibly rebuild? If it doesn't take that much to get it going again, then go ahead and do it. Just, you feel like it's like the meme with the guy poking the stick at the little stick figure. Like, why don't you do something?
That should be a certified White Sox meme for winter meetings. I mean,
can we get a billboard outside of the stadium just as that? Like the guy holding the stick right at the stadium, like, come on, do something.
Yeah. I mean, great. I'd like to send a high gloss postcard back to the White Sox with that meme.
We should do that.
How about that? Flip it. I'll reverse it. I'll flip it on them.
Oh, now you're talking. Yeah. Now how the turntables have turned.
Is the season for just jaded and bitterness.
The season to get back at people?
Yeah, exactly.
I'll show you.
Yeah, air some grievances, huh? Yeah, so, hey, I'm going to be watching. I'll be listening. I'll be reading. I'll be judging. I will be judging, as I'm sure. And everybody should. You should be holding this person accountable. This person was fast-tracked. With really zero resume. Okay, the Sox got a backstop as well. A guy that I believe Ohtani has thrown to in the past. It was kind of a quick flip by the Braves. Sox acquired vet catcher Max Stassi. And cash considerations, man. People say cash is dead. Cash is not dead. There's cash considerations in this from the Atlanta Braves. Sox and the Braves have gotten to know each other really well over the last several months. And there's a player to be named later, or cash. So again, cash is not dead. It's like, ooh, you could have a player from us. Or cash. Cash is still out there.
Well, it's like being on a game show. It's like, do you want what's in the box, or do you want the cash? It could be a donkey in the box, but you have the cash here if you want it.
If that's how it is, then it would behoove the Atlanta Braves, social media department to air that decision. Whoever has to make that decision in the front office of just a mystery box or a mystery curtain and a wad of cash, and put it on their social media platforms, because that would be great entertainment, especially if it was, to your guess, a donkey behind the curtain, just in a bar.
Oh no, we got
we're getting now baseball's exciting again. Yes. Now we're bringing back some excitement to all these.
Then it's very easy to decide who won the trade. Obviously, the Braves won the trade. They got rid of their donkey. And the Sox now have a donkey when they could have had cash considerations, but they gambled.
I feel like this could definitely change the way we look at these dull deals. So
Nick Nick is against the shift, but he's for mystery box trades
that feature potentially a donkey or a mule of some sort. I don't want to call it an outdated work animal. because I'm just singling, the Illinois region. I'm sure people are still using donkeys and mules for all kinds of useful
Mules
purposes.
were very hard.
I understand that. But to know that could be what you get as an organization, and you're live streaming it, I think there's something to be said for that.
I'm sure you could do something with that mule in the outfield.
The Sox have tried over the last few years. I can probably pull up their names next episode. They absolutely have tried.
Who's
Speaking of mules,
Aloy or a mule? We'll take your calls.
Hey, you know what? If that was on the card, if that was on the postcard of there's Mule Day, where we now could we potentially have a player or a mule out there? Look, hear us out. We've changed it all. We're hitting the reset button. Of course, we want you back, but we have Mule Day now. I might have thought about it. So, Pedro Grifol spoke, of course. I don't know if you saw him. He kind of looked like an off-duty minister in his garb as he was speaking.
Is the minister ever really off-duty?
That's true. Good point. Circle
never
gets
not
square.
Be ministered to. So,
I
get your point.
That hat is not cutting off circulation. There's more blood flow to the brain with that hat you have on.
And they burst into flames at any moment.
So this is what Grifol had to say. I know everyone was at the edge of their seats, probably recorded and watched this over and over. A lot of this job doesn't pertain to baseball, which Grifol proved it last year. He said in the winter meetings, it just pertains to management, managing the clubhouse and managing the chemistry. Hey, chemistry is real. Some people don't believe in it. Like it's some sort of, like it's the Yeti or Loch Ness Monster. I believe in it. Off the field, in the dugout, and in the clubhouse, I learned how to manage through adversity. There's a lot of things that come up during the major league season that even with me and my experience and the jobs that I've held, there's things that come up that you haven't experienced before. When we talk about getting more rounded, that's what it's about. What those guys can do defensively, speaking of Lopez and DeYoung, and obviously we're not done. It's the type of game that wins games at the major league level. You have to play fundamental baseball to compete at that level, and that's what we're trying to do. It seems to me that Grifol might have been knocked out or just unconscious for most of the 2023 season with this collection of words that he strung together. I'm concerned for him because things that he's saying here, it's almost like he wasn't even paying attention, or was it cognizant of what really was happening? Chemistry is real. Some people don't believe in it. I believe in it. So how are you going to do that? Again, AMA, Grifol, maybe he's taking a flight somewhere and he opens up the chat. You talked about chemistry. You said you are one of the believers of chemistry, that you're pro chemistry, Grifol.
Yeah.
How are you going to do this? What are you going to do? We've talked and joked around about, are you going to go to White Pines and, do trust activities, high ropes courses, trust falls? What, honestly, seriously, you tried it? Because I heard all of this mumbo jumbo in Arizona, and we heard it throughout the year. Well, what are you doing with a new crop of players too?
Yeah.
Are you secretly saying we couldn't get chemistry going, because we did not have folks that believed in chemistry? They were non-believers in chemistry. And now I'm going to get my guys in, and they're going to be pro chemistry. We're going to have the synergy, and it's going to be magical. Honestly, what exactly do you mean?
I think you get a lot of Bunsen burners, a lot of beakers, and do some experiments. I honestly, Nick, I think it's more about the guys that are not in the clubhouse anymore.
Yeah, you could be right.
I think it's an indirect way of him saying the guys in the locker room last year, and one of them will probably be on his way out soon with Aloy. For whatever reason, it didn't mesh well together, and I think bringing in a different group of guys, I can kind of put my thumbprint on how I want this team to kind of go, and the chemistry that'll be in the locker room, and it'll be more of my team and not Tony's team, right? And not the team that I inherited. So, obviously we went into last year thinking, well, it was Tony and his fault alone that this team underachieved. And we just had to change out to a different manager. And that didn't seem to be the case either. So now it was like, okay, well, it wasn't the manager. It must be the players. So let's get rid of some of the guys that were there. And now it'll be an interesting year for Pedro Grifol. He got by and he skated by, and he earned the right somehow to retain his job. I don't know that even if he's able to win 10 more games, he's able to do that this year. I mean, if he wins 70 games, I don't think you can keep him around anymore because you've seen what he can do. It'll be interesting to see what his future is like. Or do you just say, we'll keep him around because no harm, no foul. We're in the AL Central. Nobody cares.
I think that's the point. That is where I have started to lean is, what are your real expectations for this White Sox ball club? And yeah, maybe Grifol wins 5 to 10 more games and everybody's calling for his head, but you as an organization behind the curtains are saying, that's fine for us because we didn't expect much at all. Like, this is a long game. We're telling people we're going to compete in the weak division. We're sending out the high glossies, asking people to come back, telling them, we've got something going on here. But really, we don't expect much until maybe 2026 or something. So win 10 more games. The ultimate question, and this is what we always discussed with Ricky Renteria, especially with his departure, when it is time to win, and I think there will be a time eventually to win. I'm not necessarily saying ALCS or World Series, but the Sox will win again. They will be a winning team again and very well could win the division in the next 3 years, maybe. Who knows? 4 years, maybe less. Who is going to be that manager? Is Grifol just a guy to help get your guys to that winning point, which we kind of assumed? Well, I guess that's what they said about Ricky and what the Cubs said about Ricky. Who is going to be that person? Is it still going to be Grifol when they're really ready to win and really compete? I can't see that far ahead. I doubt it just right now, but maybe once Salvi Perez comes to the White Sox, Grifol's going to have his guy and chemistry is real. He believes in it, and, we'll get everything cooking.
Maybe when they're the Nashville White Sox and Jerry Reinsdorf's wearing cowboy boots and a big belt buckle with a big dollar sign on it. Could you see that? Smoking a big cigar, big cowboy boots up on the desk.
Just burning money. Anything's possible. Anything's possible. I want to thank so many people for jumping in the chats. Just on what I can see, Jared, Sydney, Brian, Yumper, man, Howard, Steve, thank you for just the continued support, man. 250, episode 250. We've been doing this for a long time. We've seen a lot, as I know you have as diehard Sox fans. So subscribe to the YouTube channel. We appreciate that. Pass it along to Sox fans in your life. It'll be your gift to them during this holiday season, much like what the Sox did to me with the postcard. Just hand somebody a postcard. Say, check out Good Guys Talk Back if you want to.
Are you going to are you going to send that out? Like, you should resend that out to other people in your life.
What I just said.
Them back.
That they maybe took a chance on us and they went somewhere else.
Yeah, maybe we have somebody that was a listener that jumped onto another podcast. Should we send out cards ourselves, Nick?
More than cards, I'm thinking baskets.
A basket,
gift
a whole
baskets.
basket, fruit.
Yeah. Perhaps it could be
just an empty basket.
Just an empty basket. And here's an empty basket. I want you to fill it with your new memories while listening to Good Guys Talk Back.
It's wonderful.
Symbolic. It's symbolic.
Yeah.
So,
a lot of
since the last time we spoke, there was a Rule 5 draft, and the Sox typically, they'll pick somebody if they think there's some worth and that they can actually contribute to the team. Sox selected lefty Shane Drohan from Boston. You need arms. You're going to need arms. So stock up on as much pitching this offseason as you possibly can. We'll see how that plays out. And Sox picking 5th in the 2024 draft. And folks, it doesn't pay to tank. It does not pay to tank anymore. So we'll see what happens with that. So someone said it. Oh, someone said it on social media, and I apologize. I want to reference it, but I want to give them credit, but I forgot who said it. But someone said, fifth pick. And you could just feel it was a great way of saying it. Well, you're not going to find the next Nick Madrigal with the fifth pick. And that, man, I laughed out loud when I read that one. That was funny. So speed, though, you got to, speed. It's all about speed. Whoever's the fastest in the draft, I want them.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Nick wants speed.
Right, that's just the vision of Getsy. That's what I'm going with.
Doesn't really have to be able to do anything else.
Yeah.
But just run like the wind, bullseye.
Yeah. I'll leave you, Pat, before we say our goodbyes here with the Pedro quote.
There's more? I thought that was the quote.
No, of course not. I'll save the good one for the last here.
Good.
Pedro quote of the week, perhaps sponsored by Super Rope in the future, if their reps would ever call back my reps. There's two ways of acquiring personality, Griffol said. You take it on from the manager or from leaders of the club or from both. In a perfect world, you take it on from the manager and leaders in the clubhouse. And that's what we'll talk about. So there's this identity thing that is still trying to be. That was his sage wisdom.
Andrew, this. You can't have or and ands. Can you?
I love his quotes are so great because he literally is saying what he thinks. Like he is speaking out all of the scenarios. Yeah. He's not giving you a quick little well, now that I think about it, it can be this and that or the other.
Yes.
And Pedro,
what are we gonna have for dinner today? Well, we could have steak or lobster or steak and lobster and fish and a sandwich.
We'll address that. We'll talk about it. So, it's the identity, it's the culture, it's the chemistry. We've said it. They're trying to fill out a roster. They're trying to get personnel, but they're also trying to recreate something that's very difficult to define. It's very difficult to force. We've seen sports teams do this for so many years. We're going to put a powerhouse team together, and it just doesn't mesh. The chemistry is just not there. So you're trying to figure out something that's really undefinable and difficult to capture. And people, when they do have it and they're immersed in it, they can't even talk about it. They're like, I don't know. We just worked. We just fit. Yeah. So you're trying to figure that out, and you're trying to get, new players and develop a new way of playing. There's a lot going on. We still have a long off season to go.
Yeah. Let's, I think next week we should start counting down to opening day, Nick, because it'll be here before you know it.
Oh, and, yes.
It'll help us get through the dog days of winter here after we get through the holiday season, because it'll be a long, cold winter if we don't have some good news. But I'm excited to share with you. Congratulations on episode 250, my friend. This has been a great joy. And I would like to point out, because we won't record until after the fact, you're going to be celebrating a little bit of a birthday on Friday. So happy birthday, Nick Murawski.
Thank you. Yeah.
43 years old. You make the 43 look fantastic.
It feels good to feel good.
Yeah. Happy birthday, buddy.
Thank you. I'll still have a little bit of leftover cake, and I'll do what Sox executives did not want Benetti to do anymore. I'll just be eating some food during the podcast.
He was very passionate about the not being able to eat the cake on the air.
Yeah.
Very angered by that. God bless him.
Yeah.
You got to stand for something. If you can't stand for eating on the air, then what do you have?
I'll tell you, there's more layers, man. That thing's not done. There's more things that are going to get pulled away from that. What a stinky situation. Though, he's in better hands in Detroit.
Did you just say a stinky situation?
It's a stinky situation.
Got it.
Yeah. Folks, Scott, thanks for jumping in. Howard, wow, happy birthday to your mom. Turned 100. Yes, I love it. You can find this podcast absolutely everywhere you find your podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Join us. We do this Sunday nights, 9:15. Thank you so very much for the continued support here. Going strong here in episode 250 season 6. For Pat Hester, I am Nick Murawski. Until next time, go Sox.